This idea of being a mystic, sometimes people think of it as something mystical. But for me, being a mystic is living in conscious union with spirit. It's actually being aware of that union, aware of that presence within me, in this place, in this space, within every aspect of our being. That's what being a mystic is for me. So for the month of May, our theme is blossoming beyond the comfort zone. So I got some good news and some bad news. If being in the comfort zone is your focus, then the mystical journey is probably not for you. Now that doesn't mean that everything about mysticism is uncomfortable. But if you're focusing on staying comfortable, then you're not really ready for the transformation that's going to happen as you move through developing this conscious union with spirit. Because it challenges us. It challenges us at every turn to go a little deeper, to clear away some of the stuff that's hindered us. As we say in our teachings, to peel away the onion, all those layers of things that we've built up around ourselves for years and years and years to protect us, to keep us safe, to keep us comfortable. It's about peeling those away so that we can get to the very heart of who we are, to the true essence of who we are, to that mystical connection with spirit. So today's talk is called Roots and Wings. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about both aspects of that. So in the book, The Love and Law, our founder, Ernest Holmes, writes this about metaphysics. So we practice a form of philosophy called metaphysics. The philosophy itself is called Science of Mind. Our organization is one of the many New Thought churches that practice a metaphysical interpretation of spiritual connection. So in this book, Love and Law, Ernest says, the study of metaphysics is the study of the the activity of the divine mind. It is the only activity there is in the universe. The only activity there is in the universe. Everything that happens through divine mind. Now, divine mind can be synonymous with any word you choose to use for spirit. As we did at the beginning, it could be synonymous with the force, the universe, intelligence, with God, with spirit, with mother, father, whichever one that you want to use, whatever you're comfortable with as your name for that universal intelligence or that divine mind. We can use those interchangeably. So metaphysics is the study and the practice of spiritual principles that tell us that mind, consciousness, and this divine law are the primary forces that shape our reality. They are the driving forces behind what it is we experience. Because they are the driving forces, there is an emphasis that our thoughts create our reality or our experience. Our thoughts create what it is we experience in the world. And so by aligning ourselves with the universal spiritual laws, we can begin to create those things that we want to experience in our lives. Now, universal spiritual laws can be things like love. We consider love of spirit to be unconditional, absolute. There's no place where love is not. Whether you're experiencing it or not, it's not an absence of love. It's an absence of us being able to see it, to experience it. We have not aligned our thoughts with the reality of love. Abundance, wholeness, perfection, peace, harmony, balance, those are all aspects of these universal laws. And individuals can consciously experience what it is they choose to experience in each one of those areas by aligning ourselves with those principles. So Ernest goes on to say that we are all a divine expression of infinite mind. We are not here to escape life, but to embody spirit more fully. That's a biggie. We're not here to escape what we're experiencing in life, but we're here to embody spirit more fully, to become more of that divine essence, and to awaken to the truth of who we are. Not eventually, not when we pass on to the next realm, not when we go to heaven and meet God, or however you want to think of it, but to experience it now. And by looking at what we think and how we apply those spiritual laws, we can determine what our experience is. So in New Thought, we recognize that each individual is a divine expression of this infinite mind. And so this study that we do in here, metaphysics, is the study of the activity of this infinite mind. And it is, as I said before, it is the only activity there is in the universe. So we use a symbol here. It's a metaphysical teaching symbol. It has become synonymous with Centers for Spiritual Living and our philosophy of science and mind. We have examples of it hanging up. There's one here on our middle panel of stained glass, and we have one back there. And it is a metaphysical teaching symbol. And this symbol tells us how the creative process works. And oftentimes we use an analogy of a seed, soil, and plant. This is where I'm getting to the roots part. So in the seed is that idea or that thought. So as I said before, when we look at the universal laws and principles, and we look at what's absolute about them, and we get an idea of what it is we want to experience. So let's go back to love. If I want to experience more love in my life, I need to create that thought within my mind that is part of the universal mind. The universal mind already knows what it is, but I have to activate it in my own mind. I have to begin to think about it and begin to feel into what love actually would be for me. And it creates the seed. The seed, now if you think about a garden seed, ones that we plant in the yard, everything that plant needs to know about being a perfect plant is embedded in that seed, right? It comes in it naturally. We don't have to tell that seed what to be. We don't need to tell it you need to grow 6 leaves and 3 branches and make sure your roots are nice and strong. It already knows that. So the seed, this perfect idea that we cultivate in our mind as part of that universal mind, begins to give us our intention, our desire, our belief. And it is the mental equivalent, or I love the phrase, instead of mental equivalent, I love spiritual prototype. A spiritual prototype of what it is I want to experience. And so just like the seed holds the blueprint for the perfect plant, your thoughts that you are cultivating in your mind hold the blueprint for what it is you want to experience. Now, this is more than just outlining what it is. Like if I'm thinking about love and I want a relationship and I start listing all the things that I want that relationship to have. Anybody ever done that? Yeah, they have to be this, they have to be this, they have to be this, they have to be this. Notice they have to be. I don't do much here, do I? They have to be. Part of this is, what do I have to be? To become receptive to that love that is always out there and available to me. What is it I have to shift within myself? That's part of the clarifying our ideas. And the clearer and clearer we define what that seed is, what that thought is, the more likely it is to produce in detail what it is we want to experience. Now, it's more than just thinking. I'm sure many of you have heard about the movie The Secret or the book The Secret, where you tell the universe what you want and the universe will bring it back, and then you try it and it doesn't work. Because there's a lot more to it than just the thought. There's the feeling that goes along with it. There's the what I like to call the yeah, but in my mind. When I say I want this thing, but then in the back of my mind I hear, yeah, but you're not this, or yeah, but you shouldn't have this, or yeah, but are you really sure you want that? All that yeah, but, that mental chatter that helps keep the stuff from coming into our experience. So it's about clearing things away. It's about clarifying what we want, clearing away the stuff that we don't want, clearing away the old beliefs that have held us back for so many years. One of the great spiritual teachers of our time is Michael Bernard Beckwith, and he says that 100%, and he doesn't hesitate about this, 100% of spiritual growth is about letting go. We are already perfect in the mind of spirit. We are already everything. We are the seed that Spirit has planted here in this reality. And just like the seed that you go to plant in your yard, everything it needs is already contained within it. So everything I need is already within me. I am a perfect seed created in the mind of a loving intelligence that has brought forth me to be the expression of itself. Now that's a powerful idea. And when I can really begin to understand that and really begin to tailor my other thoughts around that idea, then those other things, those limiting beliefs, those old habits, those ideas of lack and limitation and the yeah buts just kind of fade away. They become kind of just like a static in the background that I don't have to pay attention to. So the clearer we are in our intention or belief, and the planting it in the consciousness of that universal intelligence that is always pouring itself forth into creativity and expression, we clarify that with our spiritual practices. We use our spiritual practices to get rid of all those limiting beliefs, to get rid of those old habits, to change how we think about things. Our spiritual practices like affirmative prayer, meditation, contemplation, visualization, being in groups of people with sacred study is one of the most powerful ways to clarify our beliefs. And using all of those spiritual practices help us to clarify what it is we want, so that we have a seed that is worthy of being planted. Just like Spirit knew that we were a seed that was worthy of being planted in this time and this space, our thoughts need to be that clear too. And so then the second part of it is the soil. We also call this the creative medium. And the creative medium is a place where the ideas get planted that does what it does without judging the idea, without saying this idea is good, oh no, I'm not planting that, I'm not growing that idea, It doesn't have any of that. It takes the seed, the thought that we have, and it has a place where it germinates. So if you imagine the soil in your yard, if you're planting a tomato plant in your yard, and you put the seed in the pot there into the soil does not spit the seed back out and say, I wanted grape seeds. Right? It just says, okay, let's go with this. We'll do tomatoes. Now, there are things that we can do to the soil to make it a more conducive environment for that seed to grow, right? If we don't add water to it, is it going to grow? Well, probably not too well. We need sometimes to add a little fertilizer. We all need a little extra fertilizer every once in a while. We need to add that into our soil to enrich it. Now, we do that with our spiritual practices. If I do affirmative prayer and I get some kind of insight or clarity, I have just enriched my soil. And my soil is a better place for things to grow in now. And the other thing we have to do, going back to that letting go thing, is we have to weed it. Because we all have those weeds that are growing in our soil, right? Or we've got sticks and stones and things that need to be taken out because they're just inhibiting the growth of that plant. And again, we can do that with our spiritual practices. Taking a class, seeing how we can begin to apply different principles in our lives will help us find a way to weed that soil quicker. Learning affirmative prayer, where we can begin to put in there those affirmations that help remind us that our soil is absolutely perfect, and we just need to remove those things that are hindering us from experiencing the perfection that's happening right there. One of the things that you can do for yourself to help you clarify that much better is to see a practitioner. Our practitioners spend 4 years in training learning how to help people remove hidden beliefs, help them get to the root of what it is that they are believing that's stopping them from experiencing what they want to experience. And so seeing a practitioner on a one-on-one session, almost all of our practitioners will offer sessions for you for a small fee, and so you just schedule an appointment with one of our practitioners. You can also go to the prayer room after service if you want to shop practitioners and see which one you resonate most with. Go visit them after service, and there's usually 2 or 3 of them in there ready to pray for you. So it's a good way to get like a mini session with them, just a real quick 3 to 5 minute prayer with the practitioner in there. It will help you get a feeling for what you want to do. This is all about cultivating our receptivity for what already is in our lives through our spiritual practices. It's like ensuring that the soil of our subconscious belief, the soil is clean and pure and free of doubt and conflicting beliefs. It's all about cleaning up that stuff that years and years of being in this time in this space has put upon us. Through all of our experiences that we've had, we have layered on things that need to be cleared up. for us to understand the fullness and the magnificence of that seed that we are, that Spirit planted here. And the last one is the plant, the effect. This is the manifestation or the result of taking that perfect idea, putting it into that soil, doing the work that we need to do to clear it up and fertilize it and water it and make it that perfect growing environment. And then we get to see the visible result of it. We get to see that in our lives. This is about understanding that the planted seed that we have, that seed in consciousness, is eventually going to grow. So what do you want to grow in your life? Do you want to grow more healthy, abundant things? Or you want more weeds? You know, there's not a judgment here. It's just depending on what you want to experience in your life. But often with our gratitude and our awareness, combined with understanding these universal principles and laws, we begin to experience what it is that we want to. Ernest says it this way in his book, Ideas of Power. Each person in the integrity of their own conscious self plants a seed, an idea, which is already impregnated with the divine life. And all we are doing in our own spiritual practice is nurturing this seed. We do not make the seed grow. We let it grow. And we let it grow to the degree that we clear away and that we add the good nutrients that we have to have. And so this idea of growing this plant here, the plant needs a lot of wonderful things in it. But one of the most important things that it needs is a good root system. A good root system to help it up. You know that, well, if you saw as you drove into the parking lot today, there's a tree that got blown over in the wind yesterday. Apparently it did not have a strong enough root system. Otherwise that would have not happened. So that root system is highly important to have that in there. That's what holds us into this experience that we're having here in this plane of existence. If we are rooted and grounded in spiritual truth, in spiritual laws, in a clarity and an understanding of what is the nature of the divine and how it is operating in our lives, then we have a different experience in life. Now, the thing about root systems is you don't really see them growing much because it's all happening under the ground, right? Under the soil. When I was back in 2010, I went to the very first visioning workshop so that we could come back here and form a vision corps. And it was a wonderful experience that we went to. And in there, they told us this story. And I was just reminded of it in the class we were doing last Wednesday night of this story. And I thought, oh, this is perfect for my talk today. So I'm going to tell you the story of Patience. Patience is a bamboo farmer. Now, back in the day, Patience had a huge field, and it was completely empty. And she was trying to decide what she needed to plant there. And all of a sudden, she had this idea to plant bamboo. And so she went about the business of planting bamboo, and she covered these hundreds and hundreds of acres of her field with bamboo plants. And she watered them, and she tended them. She gave them the right nutrients that they needed. She made sure she pulled the weeds out. And the next year, she went and looked at her field, and it looked just the same. And she thought, So she thought, she'd been divinely guided to do this. So she thought, well, I can't be wrong with, Spirit's told me to do this. It can't be wrong, so I'm gonna continue. And so the next year she did the same thing. She watered and she planted and she weeded and she tended it. And at the end of the year, it was the same. Well, this went on for 5 years. Now, all of her neighbors were laughing at her. All of the other farmers are saying, honey, you need to plant something else. This is not working. Obviously, there's something wrong with these bamboo plants. They're not going to grow here for you. Why don't you try apple trees? Or why don't you try beans? Or why don't you try this? And she's like, nope. I was guided to plant bamboo, and so I'm just going to wait it out. Well, that spring, she started noticing all these little tiny green shoots coming up out of the ground. She thought, oh, this is cool. Within 3 months, those shoots were 80 feet tall. And all of the farmers came around and saying, what did you do? How did you get this? And she said, it was through patience. Through patience. I had to nurture the roots. I had to give the roots what they needed to grow. How many times in our lives do we not nurture our roots? We feel that inner calling for something to be taken care of within us. Maybe it's a little bit of our body. Our body needs to have that little extra TLC. Maybe it is our practices or our relationships or our home or our whatever it is that we have in there. Where are we nurturing these developing, there we go, I'll get it right, developing ideas of us. Where are we missing the mark here? Where are we not nurturing the things that we want to experience in our life? Our root system is incredibly important. The philosopher Kierkegaard says this. He says, faith is not just a belief in what will be. It's the courage to keep showing up when nothing seems to be. Patience had the courage to keep showing up even though there was no evidence of her plants growing. She kept showing up. She kept doing the work that she was called to do. Our spiritual journeys are the same thing. There are times when we don't see much evidence at all of that happening in our lives. That's that opportunity we have to not just worry so much about the comfort zone, because in the comfort zone we would be seeing it. We'd feel good about it. It would be happening. We'd be like, oh, this is good. I feel comfortable with this. But when it's not happening, we get a little disturbed. And the disturbances are really actually very good for us to have happen in our lives. Think about the disturbances in nature. Yesterday we had a demonstration of wind here at the center. That disturbed a lot of things, but you know what? It cleared out a lot of things too. It cleared out a bunch of stuff that didn't belong anymore. You know that tree was ready to fall. And guess what? It fell on a Sunday morning when nobody was parked underneath of it. That's a pretty good demonstration of something being disturbed and cleared away so that we don't have to experience the negative outcomes of that. So sometimes we just need to let these things happen. I think of forest fires. There's been so much debate over my lifetime anyway, about whether we should let forest fires burn or not. And the science over and over and over again proves that the forest needs the fire to clear away the old stuff so new growth can happen. We have to clear away the old stuff in our lives so that new growth can happen in it too. But it's comfortable. The old stuff is comfortable. We know it. It's familiar. We know exactly what to say. We may not like it, but it's comfortable. And so we need to clear that stuff away to allow it to happen. And the mystic's journey is all about that. The roots of the mystic's journey are planted in the soil of oneness. And so when we see evidence of something that seems to be other than oneness, maybe it's a difficult conversation we're having with somebody, and we're just looking at them like, yeah, there's no way the presence of God is in that person. I know this. I'm sure I'm the only one that's ever thought that. Sometimes we have to begin to understand that oneness is universal. I may not like what's being said to me, but I have to understand that person is also the presence of the divine and showing up in the way that they are right now because of all of the stuff they've got buried on top of them, all of their discomfort, all of their years and years of added things. They are showing up that way. And so for me to understand, okay, there's only God here, completely changes the dynamic. Completely changes how I experience it. When I remember that even though the conversation is difficult, it's just God talking to God. And life becomes a lot different that way. And so again, spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is so important, but spiritual practice is not a passive activity. It may look passive. If I'm sitting meditating, doesn't really look like I'm doing much at all. I know my mother had trouble with this one. I'd be meditating, she's like, what are you doing? There's stuff to be done. Because it doesn't feel like we're actively doing anything. It doesn't look on the surface that we're actively doing anything. But there's so much going on within when we are sitting in contemplation, when we are praying, when we are doing affirmative prayer, or we're even repeating affirmations to ourselves, when we're in contemplation, when we're reading a spiritual text. There is so much going on under the surface for us This is where our roots are really being nurtured. And once our roots are nurtured and strong, then we begin to discover our wings. Without our roots, our wings are just kind of out there. They don't have anything to keep them tethered to the experience that we're having. But our roots allow us to have the capacity to experience freedom and purpose and creativity and love and abundance and all of the things that we want to bring into our lives. The wings of a mystic are not for escape, but for expansion. The wings of a mystic are there to allow us to experience more of that conscious union with God. They're not to escape what's going on in my reality, but they're to expand my consciousness of oneness. They bring us into a greater expression of love and joy, compassion, forgiveness, and all of those qualities that we are looking for. Michael Beckwith, who I quoted before, says this: "You are not here to shrink down to less, but to blossom into more, to be more splendid, to be more extraordinary, to use up every moment to fill yourself up." Wings mean that we are saying yes to our soul's calling. They mean that we are saying yes to creativity, to service, to connection. Creativity has been the one that I've said yes to for a couple of years now. You may be able to smell the creativity in this room today. Anybody smell it? We were creating with essential oils in here yesterday, making pampering things for our bodies yesterday. And so it's just a way that we begin to expand and blossom out. I was telling someone earlier, I was on my feet for 5 hours. And in that 5 hours, I never experienced 1 ounce of being tired. But boy, when I got in my car and got home, what did you do, Laura? I have an ongoing joke with a friend of mine, and I keep saying to her, I'm not as young as I think I am. So our wings require us to trust. They require us to surrender to the unknown with a deep faith that we're being guided. Think of a bird. That first little bird that's flapping its wings. It's sitting on a branch and it's flapping its wings. What kind of courage do you think it takes to leap off that branch when you're a baby bird and you just got these little tiny wings and you're going? But it's rooted in this deep faith that this is going to be good. This is going to be wonderful. I'm going to be able to experience life in a different way. So surrendering to that unknown with that deep faith that we are being guided by all the time, that's the work of a mystic. But our wings only work if they are rooted. Without roots, then we float adrift. Without wings, we also stagnate. Without wings, we can't survive. I've told you this before, I was an elementary science teacher. And of course, science teachers, at least back in the day, I don't know if they still do or not, we had all kinds of critters in the classroom. So I had, at one point, silkworms that we let grow into butterflies so that we could watch the metamorphosis in the class and study it. The first year I did this, I hadn't done all of my pre-reading about it. And so I see this little chrysalis, and this butterfly's in there, and it's just struggling. It's struggling, and it looks so painful. And so me being this kind, loving, generous person, I decide I'm going to help the butterfly. Butterflies need the struggle. Without the struggle, the blood doesn't get to their wings and they don't come out all the way. Without the struggle, the butterfly can't fly. The same thing happened to me with chicks. I watched that first little chick trying to peck its way out of the shell, and I had to help it. Yeah. Fortunately, it was the first one, and the others didn't hatch until like 3 days later, so I didn't help them. They survived, but the first one did not. We need the struggle to survive. I'm sorry, but we do. Again, if we want to stay in our comfort zone, if we want to avoid the struggle, we're going to experience what we're experiencing now. The mystic needs the struggle. They need to have a little bit of challenge in the life to clear away all those things that have held us back. Life can be as it is, or life can be a great expansion. It's up to you. There's no judgment here on what it is you want to experience. But you can't have one without a little bit of the other. Now, that doesn't mean that the mystic's journey is always about struggle. As I said, I experience such profound moments of joy when I am creating things in my life that I was telling somebody earlier today, it's like, yeah, I'm working all the time, but it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like expansion. It feels like I'm in the flow. It feels like things are really happening and moving through me, and I'm aligned with what that is. So I love this quote here from Panach Desai. The spiritual journey is not about becoming somebody. It's about unbecoming everything that really isn't you. Everything that isn't you, we need to let go of. We need to figure out who we are. We need to embrace who we are. There are so many ways about living an authentic expression of who you are that I have found to be so powerful in my life that I wouldn't go back to any other way of being. As I started to live more authentically and dress more authentically and speak more authentically and use my voice in powerful ways, I developed a courage that's unstoppable, that's unbreakable, that's unshakable. And that is, to me, is the mystic's journey. And so as we are experiencing this, just kind of remember yourself that we are, I love the word midwives. I love the whole idea of a midwife bringing life into being. And so we are the midwives of our new reality. We are the midwives of our new reality, a reality that's rooted in wholeness and unity and flying free with wings of expansion. And so, as we walk the mystic's path, let our roots be grounded in truth and our wings be lifted by love. Thank you. So let's take this into prayer. I invite our spiritual practitioners to stand. As I said earlier, these beloveds spend many years in training, studying spiritual principles, learning spiritual practices, applying them in ways that shift their lives and the lives of our center. And so if you would, just take in a nice deep breath and let your eyes drop, relax into your seat, and open yourself up to these words of truth. And so right here and right now, I know that there is only one thing happening, and that is the action and the activity of the divine. I know that it is rooted in me, that it is filling every aspect of my being, that is it expanding itself on wings of love in all of my experiences. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for each one of us, for we are all that perfect and unique emanation of a love so powerful it could do nothing but create more of itself. And create it did. It planted each one of us as a seed of perfection, a seed of wholeness, a place where it can grow and experience this wonderful world around us, uniquely and perfectly as us. For that is the true nature of the divine, to show up individually in each one of us, just the way that it needs to experience life in these perfect and individualized ways. I know that this place in consciousness where I reside is a place of love and peace, of harmony and balance. And I know that anytime I feel anything other than love, peace, harmony, and balance, I can return to that place in consciousness, that place deep within my being, where I feel that presence of the One, where I know it is operating, where I see it expressing itself as my reality. And I know this very same practice is possible for every single person here. Remembering who we are and letting go of those things that no longer serve us, bring us into a greater expression of the divine each and every moment. And I am so, so grateful to know this. I'm so grateful to feel it. I'm so grateful to see it expressing itself in the lives of everyone here and everyone beyond. For I know that there is no limit to Spirit's expression in perfection, in harmony, in love, in generosity, and in peace. And I know that no matter what the situation is, what the problem is, there is an elegant solution to it happening right here and right now. And I just give thanks for this knowing. I'm so grateful to feel it, to see it, and to know it is happening right here and right now. And I just give thanks, and I let it go. And together we say, and so it is.